People have sacrificed their health in order for wealth, and the government has actually been a big driver for that as well. I mean, there are drugs that have killed over 100,000 people that were approved. In fact, the third leading killer in America today, according to Johns Hopkins, is iatrogenic disease, which means dying due to our own medical system.
How do you know when medicine is helping or hurting? Author and health expert Dr. Josh Axe has committed his life to helping people understand their bodies, tune into health warning signs, and reclaim their wellness.
What would you prescribe for me to do if I'm in a high-stress season of life or in a high-stress job?
Exercise can be important. Most people, I mean, if they just walked and ate healthy and kept stress low, they don't even need to go to the gym. And here's something else I found with most people.
Well, that's one of the most tactical things I've heard. Josh, the U.S. has the lowest life expectancy among large, wealthy countries, and yet we outspend all of those countries in mass.
Yeah.
Massive question, but what are your thoughts on why that data exists? What is happening?
Well, I think there's a few things here. One, I think we've taken our medical system that's meant for emergency care and tried to apply that to healthcare.
Oh, so, interesting.
Yeah, that's actually the single biggest problem. So think about it. If somebody is in emergency, we want to do surgery. We may want to prescribe a medication if somebody's in emergency. But we've taken lifestyle-based conditions like type 2 diabetes, obesity, a lot of types of heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. All of those things are 100% fixable, or let's say 99% fixable with diet and lifestyle adjustments. In supplements, you know, you can take turmeric instead of a statin drug, and often cases and get better results. But all of these drugs have major side effects, and so that's one issue. And the other big thing is poor diet. You know, for years we had what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet, and the food pyramid, which said eat a lot of carbs. I mean, grains, bread. I mean, that was at the very, very base of the pyramid. And what we're finding now is those carbs turn into sugar. That increases people's likelihood of insulin resistance and blood sugar issues. That's a major driver of inflammation and sickness. So just even the government and what doctors recommended for years on diet was completely wrong. And then sedentary lifestyle. So many of our jobs today, in fact, I want to say 100 years ago, more than 50% of jobs were agriculturally related. Yep. And most people were very mobile and moving on a regular basis. Today, we're sitting a lot. So I mean, there are quite a few things that go into that. And if you travel to other countries, like we went on a trip to Europe last year, there's a lot more eating real food, eating fresh food. Most of our foods today, people don't realize this, are shipped in from places like Mexico and China. So the nutrient density is very low. There's a lot of different things that add into it, but those are a few.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up the food, because I've got a buddy named Jan. And Jan is from Germany, and we play pickleball together every week. And we were talking the other night about, he's like, it's been a real adjustment since moving here. I had to readjust my eating habits because everything in Europe is healthy.
Yeah.
And he goes, here, I thought everything was, and it's not. And so now I have to be super selective, super picky. That begs the question, why? Why are there all the preservatives here, not in Europe? What's going on? Is this a conspiracy, or is this irresponsibility by the American government?
Well, you know, I think there's a few things. One, every country has something that they prioritize above others. You know, Chelsea and I we spent a few years in Puerto Rico. And one of the things I noticed there in that country and a lot of areas like South America, family is a bigger priority than here, actually. In the United States, economics, money is actually at the very, very peak of what drives our country. This is why in many places we're known as sort of being, the most successful country in the world, because money tends to be what people judge that on. But if you go to Italy today, I mean, they, rather than saying money is the biggest thing that's driving us, it's not for them. I mean, food, agriculture, actually quite a bit of, tourism is there as well. But overall, that's not the most important thing. So I would say people have sacrificed their health in order for wealth. And the government has actually been a big driver for that as well, is, hey, let's help people create better, better income, but not better health. I mean, it's really been very, very low. And then there's a lot of other things into this. I'll share one thing. Back in 1910, John Rockefeller saw the promise of making money in the pharmaceutical industry. And so there's something called the Flexner Report, where basically they created this whole strategy to discredit holistic practitioners and make sort of diet, everything from chiropractic to naturopaths to nutritionists, sort of obsolete because they saw so much money. So I mean, there's been a whole like campaign and propaganda for a lot of years that's really been driving the pharmaceutical industry and sort of keeping the holistic health industry at bay.
Well, I believe that.
Yeah.
And it makes me angry. I'll go back to what you were talking about with what our country prioritizes. I'm really tracking with that. Is that then, can I draw from that?
Yeah, please do.
That the desire to make money is about profitability.
Yeah.
And profitability is why our food is the way it is. Is that true? In other words, is it more expensive to create food, if you will, in Europe, and thus that's why it's healthier?
It is. I mean, so what we have really focused in on are what we call monocrops, and these are crops that you can go really quick, but you need to use a lot of pesticides and herbicides because over time you deplete the soil. So it's corn, it's soy, it's wheat. So we do massive amounts of these grains, and they're also genetically modified. That's a whole nother sort of discussion, but they're very, very cheap. And then we don't replenish the soil. We only put 3 nutrients back in the soil when there's like 80 some nutrients that should be in the soil. Because of that, those plants have less and less nutrients over time. In fact, there's a study that came out not too long ago that said on average, our food has 40% less nutrients than it did 100 years ago. And some foods might have 75% less. So if you're eating an apple or tomato, I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed this, but sometimes I've bitten into an apple. I'm like, this tastes like a bag of water, or a tomato. It doesn't actually taste like food. Yeah. And part of that's due to the nutrient density. I mean, it's like you'd have to eat 4 apples today in terms of nutrients to equal the apple that you might have had, 100 years ago.
I'm not a huge bread guy, but when I bread, I like to bread, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember being in Europe a couple years ago with Stacy and in Paris and in Rome, but particularly in Paris, I just noticed people walking in and out of shops with baguettes that, you could play golf with. They were so long. But I didn't see a lot of overweight people.
Yeah.
What is going on with the bread? Because now my wife's into the sourdough craze.
Yeah, same here.
So is sourdough healthy and approved by Josh Axe?
It's much healthier. Here's what I would say. So I think there's a little bit of nuance here, but generally when you go and buy bread in Europe, most of the time, they're using an einkorn wheat or a type of flour that's more of an ancient grain. In the United States, they've done something called hybridization to wheat. And so basically, they've bred it with certain strains to be higher in something called gluten and also higher in starches and carbohydrates. So our bread here is actually higher in carbs and this sort of sticky protein gluten versus there, it's higher in protein and it's much easier to digest. One other thing they do, the sourdough process is pretty amazing. When you eat bread that hasn't been fermented, or there's another method called sprouting, but when you haven't, if your bread is not sprouted or fermented, you're absorbing very, very few of the nutrients because all the grains have something called, I don't want to get too technical here, but I will because I don't know how else to do it. But there's something called phytic acid. It's known as a mineral binder. So basically, if you have iron or B vitamins in grain, there's this protective mechanism that actually protects the plant against pests, but it's only broken down if you sprout it or ferment it, so then you can actually absorb all the nutrients. So if it's not sprouted or fermented, you're absorbing almost nothing in the grain you're consuming.
So we're basically just stuffing ourselves.
Yeah, so the only thing you're getting is lots of carbohydrates and a protein and gluten that causes a lot of inflammation in a lot of people. So the other thing sourdough does is it breaks down any gluten in there. There was a study done on people with celiac, and that means they're extremely sensitive or allergic to gluten. However, in sourdough bread, they did a study on, this is a small study done on 17 people, but 0 of them, of the 17, had any reaction to sourdough, and 13 of the 17 to regular bread. So it's and when we read it, like the Bible, and we're reading about Jesus and the disciples or the Last Supper, they were eating, it was all sourdough bread that they were eating during that time. So it's a very different food than most of the bread we eat here.
That's all my wife needs to know. Now this is what Jesus
Yeah,
eats. Now it's over.
So my wife started doing sourdough for COVID, and then it was like, whenever we go on trips, like my sister-in-law has to come over and like watch it and take care of it. It's like a baby.
Man, the feeding thing is very stressful. Very stressful. What are your thoughts on what RFK and the so-called MAHA, Make America Healthy Again movement, what do you think about what he's trying to implement?
I like almost everything. I'm a huge RFK fan. I have been for years. I spoke with him years ago. We both spoke at an autism conference together. And I was just so impressed with, number one, his heart. I mean, that's the thing that is so different about him versus a lot of other people. If you watch his interviews, he literally is heartbroken that there are so many people suffering with chronic illness, that so many children today, the autism rates are going up so dramatically. I mean, he really cares. And I've literally never seen a politician care about health and people as much as he has, not even close. So that's the thing I respect the most. The other thing is, I mean, he is really going in, actually putting down more standards. I mean, there's research around, let me just say this, there's very little research and obstacles for a lot of these pharmaceutical companies, whether it be with vaccines or medications. They sort of got to the point where it's like, well, almost no oversight. I mean, there are drugs that have killed over 100,000 people that were approved. One was called Vioxx. It's causing people's hearts to explode. I mean, you look at the opioid crisis, there are so many things where these were approved, they were given the green light, sure. And yet we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people dying. In fact, the third leading killer in America today, according to Johns Hopkins, is iatrogenic disease, which means basically drug-induced or dying due to our own medical system. And many of those being errors. And so overall, RFK Jr., I think he's doing the right thing. Here, here's one example. He's trying to make raw milk legal. People consumed raw milk up until, 75 years ago. I mean, throughout all of human history, it really wasn't much of a problem. The pasteurization process kills all of the enzymes, all the good bacteria. It denatures the proteins or the homogenization process. And then it's a major driver of asthma, allergies, GI issues in people. And so, I think that overall, everything he's doing from raw milk, trying to make peptides legal. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies try to get their hands on everything. There's a lot of things. And so I am a huge fan. And I've been a big part of what he's done and sort of traveling to different sort of areas and helping educate people on some of his policies. And so I'm a big fan.
Besides the raw milk, are there a couple that stick out to you, things that he's pushing forward right now that you go, this has to happen? This would be a huge domino effect.
Right now, there's a type of treatment called stem cell therapy. I had an injury due to weightlifting that I had quite a few years ago and had major spine pain, and I had to travel to Mexico in order to get the treatment.
Yeah.
Because these pharmaceutical companies will go and say, well, stem cells, even if they're from your own body, if you change them at all, which you need to get the biggest benefits from them, it's now a medication and it's a drug, and we want to, and so things like that, like think about in America today, people cannot get the best care for cancer, for autism, for chronic pain. People have to go to Switzerland, Germany, Mexico, the Cayman Islands. People literally have to travel out of the country to get the best medical care in the world. So that's one example. He's trying to remove, a lot of those some of that vice grip that some of these pharmaceutical companies have put on. And the reason is that takes money. If you're using your own cells for healing, like your own stem cells or others, it takes money out of their pockets. And
One thing that jumps out to me is his war on processed food. I mean, that has created so much obesity, which is in and of itself is such a cause for so much.
Yeah.
And it feels like at some point we, the American people, have got to say, we're poisoning ourselves because our authorities are choosing profit over our people.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a conspiracy statement.
No, not at all. I mean, I think the processed food is the biggest issue. It's the biggest issue. So he's trying to change it. I mean, there's a type of agriculture called regenerative agriculture, which I think is something that he wants to get back to, and he wants to prioritize farmers. I mean, part of it is what do you do in terms of incentivizing farmers, right? If you incentivize them to do these monocropping that completely destroys the planet and the soil and the nutrient density of food, well, they're going to do that if you actually pay them to do that. But if you pay them to do regenerative farming, they will, and so, or incentivize them enough.
Hey, I want to tell you about my new sponsors, Delete Me. Here's a fact for you. Your personal data is everywhere on the internet. And I don't just mean your name. I'm talking about stuff you don't want out there, like your home address, phone number, names of your kids, and so much more. That we can all thank the data broker sites that sell your data. And then it ends up in the hands of online thieves who use it in scams and phishing attacks. And the worst part is, even if you think you've cleaned up your digital footprint, your personal info can pop back up without warning. That's why I'm proud to recommend Delete Me. They're the industry leader at scrubbing your info from hundreds of data broker sites, and not just once, but they do this continuously. Then they send detailed reports showing what they've removed and from where. And if you have a very unique situation, they have specialists ready to help. Look, this is not about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. So don't wait for a phishing scam to catch you off guard. Go to joindeleteme.com/frontrowseat today and use the promo code FRONTROWSEAT for 20% off an annual plan. That comes out to just $9 a month. That's joindeleteme.com/frontrowseat. You're a huge proponent of gut health.
Yeah.
And I was reading recently that even this troublesome little stuff around here for guys, you know, I'm not talking a beer gut. I mean, just like if you're in shape.
Love handles a little bit.
I was reading stuff that it's stress related.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on stress and a little bit of extra layer around the gut.
It's multifaceted. There are a number of things causing it.
Right.
Diet and stress are the two highest. I would throw sleep in with stress because they're so closely related. But stress is a major driver. And, you know, and here's how this works. There's two main hormones that basically affect every other hormone, okay? And it's cortisol and insulin. And cortisol will then also, cortisol is the biggest one, and that's with stress, right? You get stressed, your adrenals start releasing stress hormones. Cortisol is one of them, puts you in a fight or flight state. When you're in a fight or flight state, your body sends all your blood to one area of your brain and your extremities, okay? It's for alertness and being able to fight or fly if you're in an emergency. But then all the blood leaves your digestive system. This is why you couldn't go out and run a 10K and then eat a cheeseburger, because your body's using all the blood and energy for running, not for digestion, is why you can't do it. So, but most people live in this state all day long. And so the big thing is, if you can go and lower cortisol, lower stress, your digestive system will function so much better. You'll absorb more nutrients, you'll create more nutrients, that alone will help people heal dramatically. We've all known people that you're like, how is this person live this long and maybe not eat very healthy? And most of the time it's because they've been able to keep their stress levels really low. Yeah, so I mean, those are the two. If I can fix, and listen, exercise can be important. I do think it's important. But most people, I mean, if they just walked and ate healthy and kept stress low, they don't even need to go to the gym. I mean, if they want to at least promote longevity, live a long time.
Let's say that due to maybe family situations, maybe their job, the very nature of the job is high stress.
Yeah.
So they're going, all right, Josh, what would you prescribe for me to do if I'm in a high stress season of life or in a high stress job? How would they counteract that so that their gut health is working?
Well, here's a number thing. God created you to handle a lot of stress.
Okay.
It just can't be from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, most Americans, and here, you want to know the biggest difference in Europe? It's not diet. That's the second biggest thing. The biggest difference is in the United States, we wake up, from the moment we wake up in the morning, we are so scheduled with every single moment of our day up until, and then you got the kids at night, all this chaos, and then you go to bed and you're not even sleeping in enough hours, okay? Yep. So it's busyness. So most people can handle work stress, relationship stress. You just need to have pockets of rest in between. It's like, hey, wake up in the morning. What I've done with a lot of my staff is I recommend around your meals, take a 20-minute walk. I don't want you to think about work. I don't want you to think about anything. If you could take a 20-minute walk at breakfast, go out with your staff, 20 minutes at lunch, take a family walk, 20 minutes at dinner, and then schedule in a few things.
Is that after those meals or before? Or does it matter?
Typically, it's after.
After, okay, gotcha.
And there's studies around this, actually, being good for digestion, really good for digestion. So that's good. And here's something else I found with most people. You can be really stressed and have a lot going on during the day, but if you take a few walks, just 20 minutes 3 times a day, and if you can turn it off after dinner.
Yes.
But a lot of times people are still on their phones, scrolling, blue light, all of that stuff after dinner. So really the body can handle a lot. But we are just like, I mean, imagine like you go to the gym and, you're doing bicep curls or shoulder press or some sort of working out. Your body, stress-wise, can do a lot. It just can't squat from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
That's right.
every day,
That's
all
right.
day. So it used to be this way. It's not this way anymore. I used to be, when I first opened my practice, I was always the last person people saw. Like, they'd been to 10 other doctors, and mostly in the medical world, and then they came to me, and we'd help them do something different. Now, a lot of times it's the first time. But you know how many patients I would have come in? I'd say, I always ask them, what did your other doctor have you do? And they would say something like, well, they just give me medication. And they also told me to reduce stress. I'm like, that's great advice. What did they tell you to do for reducing? Well, they didn't. They just told me to reduce stress.
Correct.
It's so ridiculous. It's like, how prescriptive is that?
Well, that's one of the most tactical things I've heard right there. Just the 20-minute walks, but also just turn stuff off. Like, don't look at the computer.
Yeah.
Don't look at your phone.
You know what's really great for people? Just reading a book for enjoyment.
Oh,
not even to get
goodness.
ahead. I know we want to do spiritual growth and leadership books, and I think we should read those, but just for entertainment.
I agree. Absolutely. I love that. Okay, right here.
I love how you're talking about stress and chronic stress. How do you measure each of those in the beginning, and then how do you monitor or track it later?
Yeah, so in terms of something that a lot of people can do, but maybe not everybody, is there's a really good marker that you can do via some tech. I've used an Oura Ring. You can also use a Whoop band, but there's a lot of markers that test something called HRV, heart rate variability. It's actually an incredible stress marker. It'll really tell you where your stress levels are. So using that technology is probably my favorite. Another piece of tech is you can do a continuous glucose monitor. A lot of insulin spikes will be caused by cortisol going up and down. So that's another piece of tech that's helpful. And then the other thing I would say is just general intuition, listening to your body, at the end of each week, saying, okay, here's where I feel like I am stress-wise, saying, hey, I want to get down to a 5, maybe I'm at an 8 right now. And then just practically adding in habits like, hey, a spiritual growth time in the morning for 15 minutes, doing some walking. I'm going to start reading more and watching a little bit less TV. I mean, one big thing for a lot of people is people watch screens all day long. And at night is when it affects you the most. Most of you guys know this, but it's like the blue light is telling cortisol to stay high, melatonin low. So people don't get to sleep as good of sleep as they should. If you can turn it off even an hour before bed, it's ideally 2 hours, but even 1 hour, and listen to an audiobook instead, and just not have the blue light, that makes a big difference. So I would say the other thing is track yourself, give yourself a grade, and just incorporate a few habits that just, allow you to just get more of that sort of, reprieve.
Really good. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for being here. This is a great conversation. There's a growing body of research around psychedelics, especially their potential not just for mental health and trauma healing, but also physical healing.
Yeah.
Things like concussions, metabolic health, and even early stage Alzheimer's. So as MAHA and other movements push for broader legalization for therapeutic use, I'm curious, what's your take where this fits into the future of health and healing, especially in a world desperate for new and effective solutions?
Yeah, so let me address more, I guess, psilocybin and cannabis, maybe two of the more popular. So here's my opinion on this. Both of those have medicinal properties. However, their medicinal properties are much stronger and more impactful to the to your brain and nerve system than others. So I really think in most cases they should be done under the care of a doctor. I mean, turmeric doesn't need to be under the care of a doctor. Ginger, ashwagandha. Vitamins, minerals. And here's the thing. So cannabis, for instance, I've seen a lot of people fall into this where I like it as a painkiller, especially if you have the right sort of, and I would say not that high, a lower dose of THC, or for sleep, let's say maybe 1 to 2.5, sort of the number there, and then CBD a little bit higher. But it does drain the body if it's done long term. I mean, this has been known in Chinese medicine for years. We know today. This is why if somebody smokes marijuana, a lot of them, they'll become very unmotivated over time because it starts to actually pull their testosterone for men especially. And the women, it'll do a very similar thing in affecting their body. It'll kind of start putting out, we'd call it their fire. So again, I think if somebody is in major chronic pain, it could be it's better than opioids. I think there's less side effects than like an oxycodone and a lot of these drugs today that are so addictive and harmful to the liver. So I'd like it better than that with psilocybin. I think again, I just think it's such a case-by-case basis. It's, I think for addictive personalities, you got to be careful. But listen, the studies you're referencing, especially on PTSD, they're good. They're good studies, and I think doing it under the counsel of a psychiatrist or psychologist or MD, somebody who really has been trained in it, but with the goal to get off of it. I have a family I know, and they lost a 2-year-old child, and you can imagine how devastating that was, and they really struggled for years, and they actually used some of these and they felt like it was very healing for them. So I just think you just want to use it with so much caution because they do have side effects because they're really strong.
But do I hear you saying you believe that the psychedelics can have a therapeutic? We're talking like deep trauma is what I've been reading about.
Deep trauma.
It takes
and ayahuasca in a similar manner, even though that's even much stronger. But again, if we're talking more about psilocybin, I think that I think they can be very healing for trauma. The number of people today that are suffering still today physically due to emotional trauma as children is incredibly high. In fact, I think it's probably the single most overlooked reason why people have physical health issues today.
While you're on that topic, because this is a bit of a craze, and I know, I've actually had some of your product before, like the CBD pills.
Yeah.
And a lot of pro golfers were using it, to kind of focus and calm their nerves. You said something about testosterone, which is also a big issue with guys.
Huge,
so there's an onslaught of popularity of like a THC or a CBD seltzer, if you will. I don't know if you know this.
For testosterone?
No, just a beverage. I'm saying like...
Oh yeah, that's not going to help their testosterone.
That's what I'm getting at. You said it will suck away their testosterone.
Here's the thing. If you use it once or twice, or it's on occasion, it's not going to. But
I'm saying if you're drinking one of these seltzers on a regular basis, it's going to have a negative effect on your testosterone.
Really the THC more than the CBD. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and I mean, we've got testosterone levels in men today have dropped 33% in the last 50 years. And I mean, if you think about it like this, like men during World War II versus 20-year-olds today, men in their like 60s or 70s had the same level of testosterone than 20-year-olds do today, 20-year-old men.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's why I was diving in there, because there's a lot of people, I mean, I'm not judging, but like marijuana is becoming more and more legal in states and it's recreation use. So my point is there a medical, or is there something you do to offset that? Or is it just...
I think it's kind of like...
And I'm not saying it to like help people go, hey, keep doing the marijuana, but...
Let me give you an example of like what this is akin to. It's like, I'm going to drink a 6-pack of alcohol and I'm going to take some B vitamins and maybe drink some electrolytes. Okay, it's going to reduce the hangover. It's definitely better because that definitely dehydrates you and it's causing some issues. It's not a total fix. It's helpful. Maybe let's say it offsets it by 30%, but it's not a full on.
Still a net negative.
It's still a net negative. Yeah. I mean, for testosterone, what men need to do, the sleep and stress thing is huge.
Yeah.
Lift weights.
Yeah.
And eat a diet that's really high in meat, organic grass-fed meat, like everything from beef to bison to elk, and eat clean. I mean, that's really, if they do that, their testosterone will tend to be. There's a study on where they compared chopping wood to soccer and basketball and other sports, and they wanted to see, okay, which boosted testosterone the most. It was actually chopping wood. Yeah. And one of the things I remember and I think one of the reasons, part of it is psychological. Like I know when my dad taught me to chop wood, it was probably, I felt like the biggest the most manliest thing I've ever done.
Right.
So
and the brain sends a message to the body.
Yeah. And
release.
And there are studies on like men spending quality time with other masculine men doing men things, whatever that might, chopping wood or going to a football game or whatever that is. And the other thing, most men are running out and getting they're getting testosterone. They're getting testosterone injections. And I do think there are some side effects of that. Actually, the Chinese medicine view, and the same with women who take HRT, is that it's going to sort of, when you take something exogenously from the outside, your body stops producing it internally, right? Yeah. So men become, essentially, most of them become semi or fully infertile when they're on testosterone. So you really don't want to do it when you're younger, ideally. And but there are side effects of that when you're not moving blood and that's not happening in that area.
Yeah.
So I think for most men, it's what we talked about. And there's some natural things: Panax ginseng, fenugreek, some herbs that are great for testosterone.
Yeah. Question for you: when was the last time you thought about your mattress? Most of us don't do this until we wake up sweating, sore, or just plain exhausted. And let's get real here. When you're investing in your future, trying to be better and move up, sleep shouldn't be the thing that holds you back. That's why I'm very excited to tell you about Avocado Green Mattress. Their mattresses are assembled in the great US of A with certified organic materials. That means no chemicals or petroleum and no skimping on quality. Avocado gives you clean, breathable comfort that helps you sleep deeper and cooler throughout the night. They've got customizable options for how you like to sleep. You like a firm mattress, a medium, how about a plush? And they give you a simple mattress quiz to help you find that right fit. So whether you're upgrading the guest room or replacing the old one in your bedroom, Avocado gives you luxury that's built to last with materials that you can feel good about bringing into your home. And they back it all up with industry-leading warranties. I'd love for you to head to avocadogreenmattress.com/Ken today, where you're going to get $50 off with the code KEN50. That's avocadogreenmattress.com/Ken and use the code KEN50. Avocado, dream of better. This is a broad question. I'll let you kind of go to what pops at the top of your mind or what really upsets you. But what are some popular health hacks that you see out there and you go, this is garbage? You may see it on social and you shake your head and go, enlighten us. What should we be aware of that other people are telling us to do?
Just as a broad category, here's what I would say. Most people find one diet, some influencer online, and they'll basically say, this is the holy grail. Everyone should do this diet. And the vegans are the worst about this, but I'm telling you, the carnivore is coming on strong too.
It is.
You got keto, you got paleo, and to be honest, it's not true. Everybody is designed uniquely, and every person, even in this room in the world, should be on a diet customized for them that's different. And I can share. So if I have a patient come in with, let's say it's cancer versus inflammatory bowel disease, they're radically different diets. Someone with inflammatory bowel disease or major inflammation, I have them eat soups almost every meal.
Yep.
Okay, all cooked food. Somebody with cancer, I might do vegetable juices and raw vegetables and a number of other things. I mean, so based on your condition, and this happens a lot. I've brought up hypothyroidism a lot because I just take care of so many women who have thyroid issues or PCOS or infertility or major menopausal symptoms. And a lot of those women think I should be doing a lot of salads and smoothies. Or maybe they even go and do keto or paleo or something. Those diets are all terrible for those conditions. Terrible. So women with those hormonal issues, they want to be doing a lot. And by the way, pre and postmenopausal, the diets need to be different too. So even based on your age, there needs to be a level of customization.
How do you figure that out with somebody? I mean, I know you can help people out, but for people, we got a lot of people listening from all over the place. What are they looking for? Who do they go to be able to figure out what is a customizable for me? In other words, I know this is going to work for me.
Yes.
Is it blood work? Who's the best to do that?
So there's a few ways. There's the functional medicine and the more of the Eastern medicine sort of approach. And so if somebody sees somebody who's well-educated in diet and Eastern medicine, maybe it's an acupuncturist or an OMD, an Oriental medical doctor, they can actually feel your pulse and look at your tongue and tell you really spot on what you should take. You can do some functional medicine testing, but I really like GI maps that can test your gut microbiome, what's going on. I like tests that look at micronutrients so I can tell what vitamins and minerals people are deficient in. And I have a virtual practice today where I do this and I look at, we do testing and kind of look at those things regularly. And the last thing is, and this is probably the most important, is what are your symptoms? If you've got low body temperature and your hair is starting to thin, your metabolism isn't where you want it to be, then you might have hypothyroidism. Let's start doing some things to correct that. But I mean, most of the time with symptoms, you can tell exactly what you have and start fixing it.
Yeah. This gives me a chance to just talk naturally about this. This is a new book coming out with your longtime friend and former business partner, The Biblio Diet, Healing Secrets from the Bible. Live long, master metabolism, reduce pain, fight depression, and conquer cancer. This is fun. You got to talk about it.
Yeah.
You're telling me that the Bible gives you the playbook for all of that.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think most people realize that.
The Bible, the book with the greatest wisdom ever written. In fact, Jesus, the most when you look at his parables, the majority of them, it's over 2/3, were agricultural or food related. And so we see that a lot. I mean, you see that in there. And by the way, the Bible is sort of very counter to a lot of what people would think of today. Like some of the top foods you would see people eating in the Bible, the ones that are most referenced are red meat, which the American Heart Association says will kill you.
Yeah, right.
Dairy is talked about predominantly. In fact, Abraham had 2 angels and the angel of the Lord visit him, and he fed them sourdough bread and cheese curds and red meat.
But it was raw dairy, right? Not pasteurized.
Exactly. Bread is talked about in the Bible, lots of salt. I mean, think about it. If your doctor recommended, hey, here's your diet for you, bread, red meat, salt, and dairy. It's like all the things that the medical association's against, but they were in forms that are so different to today. I mean, the bread was much more nutrient dense. Again, it was sourdough. We're looking at, red meat, everything was grass-fed. And the dairy was all raw, organic, and fermented. So it's a very, very different thing. But yeah, in that book, Jordan and I really get into how to heal with foods of the Bible. Pomegranates are talked about, figs, extra virgin olive oil, staying away from pork and shellfish. There's science today showing that pork, by the way, people in the South really have a hard time with this.
Well, bacon is basically a rite of passage for somebody in the South.
Yes, I know. I mean? But it is, they are the greatest carriers of parasites in the world. No other food even comes close. And the reason is their digestive system only has one chamber. It takes them 4 hours to digest or less. It's very similar to a human, actually. They don't have sweat glands. I mean, they don't detoxify. They store toxins. So if you're eating pork, you are eating the most toxic meat on the planet.
Why does it taste so good, the bacon?
Maybe part of it is the toxins. I don't know.
It's probably right.
But
man, when was the last time you had a piece of bacon?
My cousin was doing a hog roast in Ohio, and I was like back 19 years old.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm 43. So,
man.
So I just had, what we do? We do beef bacon, and we love it. Whole Foods actually carries it now.
Beef bacon?
Oh, yeah. Most people have never had it.
I've never had it.
It's excellent.
Talk about how we can eat to have tremendous energy during our workday.
Yeah. So I would say the biggest issue people have is overconsumption of carbohydrates. I think kind of generally most people know that, but it's sugar and it's excess refined carbohydrates, okay? And then that's not enough protein and not enough fiber.
Give me an example of some of the refined carbs that we're all eating and we shouldn't be eating.
Cereal for breakfast,
right.
bagels, toast, and there's maybe processed oatmeal where they're adding sugar to it. How about Starbucks coffee with, I don't know if you've seen, there is like the Frappuccinos. Some of them have upwards of like 70 grams of sugar. That's drinking almost like 2 sodas. And people are thinking, I'm just getting my coffee.
Sure.
It's like it's a true, you just go to Dairy Queen.
There's barely a trace of coffee in that. Yeah, you might as well get a milkshake.
Really enjoy yourself. So there are lots. I didn't even mention donuts. So it's a lot of those carbs. Most people are really not getting it. Protein is the biggest deficiency people have. When I ran my practice, and still when I work with patients today, one thing I'll do is sometimes on the first visit, I will tell people, hey, I don't have their meal plan done yet, but I'll say, because that'll be for the next visit, but I'll say, okay, what I want you to do is just change breakfast. Just this one meal. And let's start doing a superfood smoothie for breakfast. And some people I have to do warm smoothies because their body's temperature too low or more room temperature. So for those people, I have them do like a sweet potato smoothie with a lot of ginger and cinnamon in it. But I tend to have people do about 40 grams of protein, at least. 20 grams of plant protein, 20 grams of a collagen or a bone broth-based protein. Maybe there's a handful of blueberries or again, a sweet potato or something like that. It's a lot of herbs in it, that sort of thing. Just, again, cinnamon, ginger, and then water or coconut milk. That's the sort of breakfast that people would really thrive on in most cases. But I would say more protein, more fiber. That's the
Okay.
That's the fix.
While we're talking about breakfast, I'm curious to know what you think about this one. I saw this online, and I tend to believe it, but I don't mind if you poke a hole in it. Good, healthy eggs, like real, true, free-range eggs. They said that eggs give us actual, really good cholesterol.
Yeah.
And there's a whole mess of opinion about cholesterol, but cholesterol, as I understand it, is what our body uses to fight inflammation.
Well, cholesterol is primarily, it does have some anti-inflammatory properties, or can, but primarily it's your body's repair substance. I mean, so what that happens is, if somebody has a lot of inflammation, they're eating unhealthy food, lots of sugar. Sugar shouldn't stay in the bloodstream that long. That's going to cause inflammation of the arteries. Well, if you have an inflammation area, again, inflammation, think of it as a fire, it's starting to eat away and damage something. What your body does is your liver creates cholesterol to then go and patch up the damage. That's why cholesterol drugs are such a terrible idea. 25% of your brain and nerve system is actually cholesterol. So it causes demyelination of your nerves, increases your likelihood of, I think, dementia, a number of issues, and so major issues. And so, but eggs, if they're pasture raised, not if they're conventional, but if they're pasture raised, they're very high in vitamin E, very high in choline, higher in omega-3 fatty acids. They're definitely anti-inflammatory. They definitely can support cholesterol levels. I mean, now you can have too much of a good thing for some people's body types.
Right.
But overall,
if there's not an allergy to eggs, you're okay with that as a high protein.
100%.
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah. Foods that would support mental clarity. People got to use their brain a lot at work. They're under pressure. What do you like for mental clarity?
Healthy fats and some good protein. I mean, I think that one thing just for people who want to keep a lean body, you don't want to eat a lot of fat and carbs together at the same time. Your body has a hard time with those. It'll sometimes store one, so it'll end up storing one as fat. So when I say you want to get some good fat, you also don't want to do a lot of carbs with the meal when you do it. But generally, healthy fatty acids are the biggest things. Extra virgin olive oil, probably my favorite. Wild salmon is going to be very high on the list. Coconut oil. I think those three in particular, along with walnuts, are probably the absolute best. There's an actual principle in Chinese medicine. It says like supports like. If you consume a food that looks like an organ, it actually supports that organ. You cut a carrot open, it looks like your eye. Tomatoes, it's red. Your heart's red. It has 4 chambers like a heart. It's high in lycopene. It's been shown to be good for your heart. So very similar thing, but a coconut looks like a head. Walnut, think about a walnut, it actually literally looks like your brain. And it's an amazing brain food. So I would say, those 4 fats would be great for people to get. And there's some herbs people can take that are really good. Probably the best 2 that people could take are ginkgo biloba and then a mushroom called lion's mane. Very, very good for focus and clarity.
Yeah. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Folks, therapy isn't just for people that are dealing with major traumas. Of course, therapy can help with that, but it's also a valuable tool for anybody who's looking to unlock their potential to become a better version of themselves. I am a regular partaker of therapy, and it has made me so much more aware and has allowed me to grow and to see things that I've never been able to see before. I couldn't recommend it enough. So if you're somebody who's going, all right, maybe I should try therapy, I'd love you to contact BetterHelp. BetterHelp is 100% online, so it's affordable and it's convenient for your schedule. And as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. They have over 10 years of experience matching people with the right therapist for them. And they're rated 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. To get started, just fill out a quick online survey and get matched with a licensed therapist. Then, if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time easily for no extra cost. So talk it out with my friends at BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Ken to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Ken. So much has been written. I think the most popular book on anxiety right now is probably The Anxious Generation.
Oh, yeah. That's a great book.
Great book. I've seen some things recently written that gut health is maybe the source of the anxiety, or a salve or heal to that. Your thoughts on the relation or the link between a highly anxious person and their gut?
Yeah, well, it kind of works both ways. I recorded a whole podcast on this. We call it the gut-brain connection.
Yes.
And basically what we see is that this is kind of surprising, even when I learned this quite a few years ago, but 95% of our serotonin, which is sort of our good mood hormone, that's produced in the gut. And so if your gut is off, I mean, it's a major cause of depression. If you have overgrowth of bad bacteria, if you're lacking good bacteria, if your body can't produce enough of the serotonin, doesn't have what it needs, so that's a major problem. I mean, the best way to, and by the way, it also works the same way. A lot of emotional stress can disrupt the gut there as well. Some of the best things to start to repair the gut are consume foods that are easier to digest. I mentioned I really like soups. I like cooked meat. I like steamed vegetables or cooked vegetables. Fruit tends to do pretty well, especially apples and things like blueberries.
Point of clarification, I think I know the answer, but when you say soups, we're not talking about Campbell's Chunky Soup here.
No, I'm talking about, your classic, your grandma made chicken vegetable soup, beef stew. Now, I will say, you can go to probably Whole Foods and some certain stores, and they might make soups that it's still not as good as home, but it's still good. So there probably is a brand that's not Campbell's that might have some good options there. But yeah, making soups at home and then the other thing I would say is, like, ginger is an amazing herb. I mean, doing ginger tea for people, especially people with cold constitution, that's probably, along with green tea and ginger tea are the two, I believe, most commonly consumed herbs in all of Japan. And we should do what they're doing because they have the best health.
Okay.
I'm a fitness, nutrition, wellness, and performance coach, mainly for men. And even before I get into specifics of macronutrients, total calories, and everything, first recommendations are typically to front load the day and front load the meals with protein.
Good, yeah.
Most of my clients will then be like, okay, I'm going to go for this protein drink or protein bar or something. Could you just speak on the importance of nutrient density and bioavailability in protein sources when you're talking about like animal protein versus synthetic stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm writing another book right now on cellular health, and one of the things I'm getting into in the book, and there's so much good research on this, is that we can't, even with vitamins and supplements today, we cannot create the same matrix of nutrients as are in a food. So, for instance, a lot of times people are taking like resveratrol today, right? That's a compound you find in grape skins and blueberry skins. And you're still better eating blueberries or grapes. I mean, the studies show it's still more efficacious because there are actually certain things we don't even know exist in food still. And that allow the absorption to be better. Again, all these things work synergistically. And so if you're only taking one of them, we even know this now, like we didn't know this up until 10 years ago, that if you're going to absorb magnesium, you really also need vitamin D. Or to absorb calcium, you need vitamin D and vitamin K2 and magnesium, and maybe even boron. So there's a lot of things there. So I would say people can supplement once a day or with one of their meals. And if they're going to do 4 meals or something like that, they're trying to put on muscle, maybe a protein powder again. But it's still just not as good. And I would say, generally speaking, I mean, you know this, but it's like red meat, then chicken. Eggs are also very, very high. And then after that, fish. And then, the plants are much, much lower in the muscle-building proteins. One other thing I don't think that people talk about enough is getting organ meats. I mean, throughout all of history, all of our ancestors ate organ meats. They didn't just say, we're just going to take the muscle meat. So think about this. If you want to build muscle, you need to eat muscle meat, right? That's what we eat, whether it's a beef tenderloin or a burger or a fish fillet or chicken breast. But if you want to heal your liver, you should eat liver. If you want to heal your heart, you should eat heart. And so there's this whole peptide craze going. People are getting turned on to more peptides. In the human body, where you find peptides by far the most concentrated are in organs.
So is a whey protein less effective than a good old-fashioned steak?
Yes, for sure. Now, a bodybuilder will tell you that during your workout, like when you're working out, you're better off doing whey. And the reason is it's so quickly absorbed. It's like sugar. So unless you're in the middle of a workout, right before or right after, you really don't want to do whey because, and actually, it may increase your risk if you take it during another time of day of being insulin resistance because it does have an effect on your blood sugar. Whey does.
All right, I'm glad you mentioned peptides. I want to get something real quick on this. What is good? What's bad? What should we know more about?
First, I would say there's just so many peptides. It's really hard to answer. I mean, there are a lot. Again, I like peptides that are the most modeled after what you're actually going to get in organs and glands. And I would say take organs and glands first. And then if you need something more concentrated, there's a category called bioregulators. They tend to be 2 to 5 amino acid strands. And those are most similar to what you're going to get in a lot of your like organs and glands. And so those are super popular actually in Russia. We don't have as many of them here yet. We will. The most popular one, of course, by far. Well, is it the most? Well, yeah, today it's the most popular. But most people don't know creatine is a peptide. Yeah. It's a tripeptide. Glutathione is a peptide. But GLP-1, Ozempic, part of the thing that you want to do is make sure you're getting it in the right dosage. I think if people were doing the right dosage of GLP-1, which is probably 1/10 of what it is, like a microdose, I probably wouldn't even have anything negative to say. But I do have a lot of negative things to say. And there are 2 studies that have shown this, that if you're using Ozempic, you're about 40 to almost, and some people 50% of what they're losing is muscle. And that's and versus let me say, if most of you guys were just just dieting without exercise, you might only lose 25% of muscle versus 75. And if you were actually exercising, doing the right things, and then you might only lose, you might not lose any muscle, and you only lose fat. So to lose 40 to 50% of your muscle, that's crazy. So people are thin, and what you're seeing in them is they're losing their butt, which is your strongest muscle group. You need that as you age to squat and everything else. I mean, it's a terrible place to lose it. And then you'll start to see some gauntness in the face. And what it does is it causes a condition called gastroparesis. That means everything moves through your digestive system slower. Well, that's going to increase the risk of SIBO, more fermentation, bad bacteria overgrowth. And we don't have any long-term studies on it. So I'll kind of quit my rant on that, but I am not a fan of the current dosage people are using of GLP-1. Right. I think it's age. I mean, one study said that the amount of muscle people are losing on average is the equivalent to you aging 20 years.
Oof. Yeah, that's not in the commercials.
No, it's not.
It's not there. Okay, we're going to go to some kind of quick hits here. Okay, here we go. This is the first one we're going to comment on.
I didn't need an appetite suppressant to lose weight. I knew how to lose weight. It often entailed eating very, very little while having excruciating and tiring thoughts that I can't turn off in my brain. I needed a medication like Ozempic to help quiet some of those thoughts, along with something that helps my PCOS and insulin resistance. The ways that GLP-1s work on our body go so beyond appetite suppression. So I didn't need Ozempic to help me not eat. I needed Ozempic to help me learn how to eat like a normal human being.
Okay, so should be...
So Ozempic, because of the gastroparesis, people aren't hungry, okay, because of the slowness of the digestive system that it causes. And so they're not hungry. So her saying it taught me a lot of that's just good marketing that she's sharing. I mean, it taught her how to eat. No, you're not hungry, so you don't eat. That's what she should be saying. And I would argue, well, just know the side effects. You're losing muscle, and it can cause major malnutrition. So those are and there are plenty of studies showing you actually can create more GLP-1 in your own body or GLP. You can create more of it. Certain probiotics create it. Certain types of fiber help create it. So really it's healing your gut, what we talked about earlier. A lot of times people have these intense cravings because they don't get enough water. 75% of people, I think I saw the study was, are chronically dehydrated. It's very high. So people don't drink enough water, don't get enough protein, don't get enough fiber. Yeah. And if you do that, and also I think there's a few studies showing that probiotics help with cravings, and also the flavor of sour. Drinking more lemons and things that are sour also kind of helps curb cravings. And then use monk fruit, use stevia, use some things there to also help with kind of curving things.
Love it. All right, here's another one that's pretty popular. And I have a lot of personal opinions on this one, so I can't wait to see what you say.
Let's talk about why you should be taping your mouth shut every single night before you go to bed. Breathing through your mouth contributes to a host of issues, including bad breath, gum disease, cavities, brain fog, and a weakened immune system. There are so many more, and most people, myself included, breathe through their mouths at night. Taping your mouth shut before bed completely prevents that. I'm not kidding. You will have the best sleep of your entire life.
Super smart girl.
Yeah.
Super smart. If people are mouth breathers, it is just horrendous for your health, horrendous. Because part of what it does too, people have a lot more yeast, a lot more thrush, then it affects the gut, allergies, food sensitivities. I mean, a number of issues. And so if you don't, like, I don't breathe out of my mouth hardly ever. And so I don't mouth tape. But if I did, or I know somebody who does, it's the first thing. I mean, it can be a game changer for a lot of people. So I think it's a great recommendation.
Well, before I tell you what I want to tell you, what would a mouth breather's tongue look like?
It tends to be like a more thick coat, typically on it. And also with kids, if you have a kid with chronic swollen tonsils, that's a major driving factor.
Yeah. So I had a lot of bronchial issues growing up.
Yeah.
And tons of bronchitis and stuff. And so I learned to mouth breathe.
Yep.
It's the only way I could breathe.
Yep.
So my wife was very worried about the apnea. She was like, you wake me up
that's
and
a
it sounds
big
like
side
you're
effect.
literally swallowing your tongue.
Yeah.
Turns out I was. So I tried mouth tape and it's been an absolute game changer.
So
I am 100% tape the mouth.
Yes.
People are freaked out by it. You can still breathe. It's not like you're suffocating. I want to that's a myth.
There's a great one for kids too. Listen, some kids are going to be great with it, some aren't, but there is one where there's still a slit in there.
Yeah.
And, but it just makes it harder when you're sleeping and not conscious of it.
Yeah. And it's still, again, you still have a little bit of room there, but it keeps the chin up.
Yeah.
And that keeps the
So
tongue
good.
where it's supposed to be. I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah,
and
same here.
My wife is as well, as you might imagine. All right, let's see here. Here we go. We got another one.
After acquiring and using a high-quality red light therapy device for many months, I actually noticed some surprising things. A lot of my old chronic creaky injuries felt significantly better. I also noticed on days using this device, I was going to bed easier. And a few months in, my skin seemed healthier. Some of my scars, chronic blemishes, and other skin imperfections seemed reduced. I even noticed some other benefits as well.
Mouth taping's a 10. This is still an 8 or 9.
Okay.
It's pretty high. Yeah. So red light therapy is basically giving you some of the rays that the sun gives off. I would say, first and foremost, people need to get out in the sun more. You never want to burn your skin. Increases your cancer risk. But you do want to get quite a bit of sun. And if women, or if anybody's worried about aging, then put sunscreen on your face. Or cover your face. So, but we need to get a lot more sun. I mean, the rays from the sun, when you're getting like not just red, but blue and green and a number of rays that are very healing to the body. 20 minutes, if the UV is fairly high, is enough. And
would you need to do any red light therapy if you got that much in the sun?
You would likely need a lot less.
Okay.
The other thing, though, I do want to say, based on your skin color, if you have very light, pale skin, you can be out 10 minutes.
That's right.
If you have very dark skin, you might need to be out 5 times longer to get the same amount of vitamin D. So the darker the skin, the more time you need to spend in the sun for actually. And then the reason why red light is so beneficial is it activates something called mitogenesis in your body. It's creating more mitochondria, helps charge your mitochondria. And that's basically how your body creates cellular energy. So if you're tired all the time or organs aren't even functioning at peak, it really helps with driving and building that. There's a study on for hypothyroidism, using red light directly on the thyroid and actually helping reverse some of the hypothyroidism. So my wife and I have used it. We had a bed at home for a while. Now we have just some panels. But I personally have noticed better sleep. Some men will notice an improvement in their testosterone. Some people energy. But I've personally experienced it. I've had patients that have experienced. So I'm a fan.
Okay. Well, I got to tell you, folks, I love a conversation, and I've challenged you to think of a conversation as an opportunity to change your life. And man, we got so much stuff today around our health. And this is such a vital conversation because I think if we treated our bodies and our health like we did our career sometimes, we'd have a far better life. And there's so much for me to take away. A fun one, but a hard one. My takeaway here is I'm going to get serious about the pork. I think of barbecue and the sandwiches and the bacon. I'm having a hard time even just getting that out, that I have to get rid of it. But, think about something that has so much toxins in it. And what does it actually do to my body? But to be using bacon as an example to say, okay, how do I start to treat my body like an actual machine, like I think God intended it to be? So I'm going to challenge you to really take inventory and learn a lot, as I did from our conversation. And remember, if you're enjoying this conversation, show us the support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. And if you'd ever like to be a part of our live audience, we've got a link in the show notes, and you can check out the schedule of future guests. To our friends here in the studio, thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of the conversation. Would you help me in thanking Josh Axe for being with us? Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
So good. It was really great.